You have nothing. You are nothing.
Know your past and know your future.
You are nothing. You can build nothing.
Know your past and know your future.
You can produce nothing. You can create nothing.
Your present is the gift that can prepare you like a teacher. Read between the line, hit you like taxes and fines. Know your future, know your future, know your future. Or get stuff into the hooper.
All right, that's it. We're here. You know what it is. It's that time. We're here to know your future. Myself, Wza, and my brother, Abran Maldonado. Yo, my brother, how you feeling today?
What's good, man? You know, we chilling, man. It's December. Holidays are feeling right. The kids are good.
Yeah.
That elf, man, that elf is kicking my butt. But, you got to do what you got to do as parents out here. But, there's a lot of excitement in the AI space. There's a lot of movement across different companies, different platforms. So we just out here trying to help everyone get up to speed.
Yep, that's what it is. So, all right, we like to cover what's going on in the current events of the AI space. Well, technology as a whole, of course, but the AI space is probably, all eyes are on. So that's where we're at. And I just noticed, and I probably should have noticed before because it's a reintroduction, but now they're reintroducing a AI civil rights bill because they have seen how some companies, and probably if you look at the proportion of it, probably more than not, like more than a little bit. Some companies are using AI to actually weed out people that they don't feel like they want to either work at their company or buy certain things from their company or whatever the case is. And we've seen this in American history before, of course. So they are introducing a AI civil rights bill to the House. Senators Markey, Presley, and Clark are reintroducing it. I mean, this is a thing that we're gonna, be dealing with for a while. What are some of the things that people need to realize, one, and look out for when they are submitting for a job or, trying to buy a house or things like that, and companies may be using AI against them? Like, what are some of the things that maybe people can do in order to, get around that without having to, lose their mind, I guess, and because let me also preface with this, right? This is a reintroduction to this bill, which means that they've introduced it already once. And in this administration, the way things seem to be going, they're already devaluing and getting rid of black and brown people in the government and setting up for it to be very difficult for black and brown people to move in the future. So, like, this bill probably during this administration won't get introduced or won't get passed or whatever the case is. So what are some of the things people can do in order to, get around and get ahead or just survive and while knowing companies may be using AI against them?
I think a lot's going to change. I think people now can also equip themselves with data because of AI. And for before, companies, employers, people who approve loans, they had an advantage over you because they've broken you down into data and metrics, right? And you just sat there with your hopes in your hand and left to their analysis of you. I think now you could fight data with data. I think when you show up now, you can show up with your own data points to either, further support your case or challenge the data that they might have collected on you out there. And what that means, in a nutshell, is that like resumes might change over this new window, where you come with data points. Your resume might not just be text. Your resume might be more quantified. Your resume might be AI enhanced or AI powered to really come up with your own I don't know if everyone saw that Black Mirror episode of like your own social credit score, your index score of like how well you perform, what your influence is in a particular market, your own KPIs. Before we were like, oh, share your KPIs, share your data points, and it's people don't know how to do that stuff, right? So they didn't know the best way to sell themselves, but now with AI you can. And I think on the other side, like some of it isn't intentional. I think because they're relying on AI to pull through what the AI believes might be the best candidates for financing, for jobs, it's relying on deep rooted bias in those algorithms. I have teams on within Create Labs and outside that are saying, "Hey, I think we need to propose or develop these like bias mitigation layers to help these companies remove some of the bias that they might not be aware of that's in their systems." We've been approached by the city of Philadelphia that said, "Hey, can you help us develop an agent that identifies any bias in how we've been rewarding RFPs over the last few decades?" Right? They're not aware of the bias that's in there. They're not aware of it. They identify and recognize it might exist in there,
Right.
right? But can you help us with an AI model that can go seek that out and give us the insights and reports? Like, you know what? There has been some bias, unintentional bias, in how we've been awarding these RFPs to the community and giving out contracts. And so there's some development there, an opportunity to like, yo, look, here's an extra layer to help you weed some of that out, to be more transparent and more objective in your approach. But if there's people out there that are doing it on purpose, then shoot, you might have to come equipped and with your own AIs to be like, oh, that's how you think of me? Well, here's what I got in my own portfolio.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So basically, not basically, because there's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But definitely have to do your own due diligence.
Due
Like
diligence,
if
yeah.
you want to, if you notice a trend in like you're always getting shut down or you're always going through this situation and you just have this feeling, because that happens a lot, right? In the Black and brown community, we just start to have this feeling, and then, you just sometimes people let it go or leave it alone, but then that feeling bothers you and haunts you. So now it's like, okay, do something about it, because the tools are there for you to fight back. You can, research the company and find out what's going on. Or like Abran just said, you can, come equipped before you even get there with all of this knowledge that, should something happen, shut them down. The AI creating your resume, I think, is a very good one, because what is it, right? You can like write prompts, or the AI rather can write prompts within there to let the AI that is going to be looking over the resume to ignore biases or put me ahead, or whatever the case is. I'm sure that hack won't be happening for too long, because somehow they'll get aware of it. But fight back by using AI if AI is being used to stop you. That's a really good analysis and point, because the tools are in your hands now, and that's what we've been saying is like we're at a point where people don't realize like the things that have been going on in life that have been hard and stopping you from getting ahead or learning or whatever, they're going away because those same AI tools are in your hands. Yeah, you might got to pay a $20 a month subscription for it, but I mean, that seems like it's super worth it if it's going to help push your life forward in a much positive space.
Here's an example, right? You can pull up this data. Deep research is a tool that doesn't get used enough in these AI tools. ChatGPT or Gemini both have a deep research button, right? Where you can go really deep on any topic to do your own market research. You can say, okay, this employer hires from these top 5 universities, and the people that they hire usually come out of there with an average GPA of whatever, let's say 3.7 in like business marketing, business administration. And you're like, look, even though you're hiring people on average with this skill set and with these degrees, even though I don't come from the top 5 universities that you hire from. Let's say I came from this HBCU, I came out of like Howard. My degree and my placement scores and the work that I've done outperforms the people that you've been hiring, right? And they're not expecting you to know that stuff. They're not expecting you to come equipped with like, oh, you did your homework too on the company, who they hire, where they hire from, the type of talent that they're getting. And you can say, look, even though I'm not one from one of those, your go-tos, your favorites, I'm outperforming everyone that you've hired in the last 2 cycles, 3 cycles.
Right. And that is super important, because if you go with that data to them and they still say, no, you don't fit, or whatever the case, or what they may say, you might have an actual lawsuit on your hands then, because then you can go with the data and say, there's no reason to not hire me other than I'm black or brown, because I'm outperforming the people that you normally hire. Just because you hire from these areas, make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? And
that's an extra use. That's real, because
Yeah.
I worked at a tech company that, aside from the job, they have these aptitude tests. They do it like a personality test, an aptitude test that you have to take separate from your resume, right? And all these companies say that you have to perform at least in the top 80%, right? You have to score an 80 or above,
Right.
to get a job, no matter how good your resume is.
Right.
Now, what if you find out that that's the case because of your research? All right, they hire 80 and above, and you find out that you got a 90 on this test and you still don't get hired, right? What's up then? You know what I mean? You require a little bit more digging and be like, all right, I scored higher than most of the people that, your minimum thresholds.
Yeah.
Why didn't I get the job?
Yeah. Do your due diligence, and you will, more than likely have reason or cause or whatever the thing is. And then even at the end of the day, if you can't get a lawsuit going or whatever the case is, obviously maybe that's probably a company you don't want to work at anyway, one. And then two, you're not driving yourself crazy wondering why you're not getting picked. And then you end up moving on faster to something that'll be better for you anyway. So just being prepared puts you in a better position. Doing your due diligence puts you in a better position. So, absolutely.
At minimum, anywhere that you're trying to go, there's Glassdoor reviews, there's Reddit threads, there's social media threads on that company,
Yeah.
the culture, what it's like. Just do a quick web scrape summary, 1-page summary, using deep research on one of these tools. We're like, yo,
Right.
tell me what it's actually like to work there. Not what they're selling me on, but what it's actually like.
That's a great point. That is a great point. I didn't even think of that. Like, yo, tell me what it's like to be over here, and then see what everything that comes back from reports left, and business deals done, people talking stuff on social media, whatever the thing is.
It's out there.
Yeah, you'll get a scope. That's a really good point. So, I mean, let's see what happens with this bill. Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen during this administration, because I think it's the exact opposite of what this administration wants to do. An AI civil rights bill is not in Project 2025, so I don't think that's it's not a priority by far. I mean, we'll see what happens after these midterms, because let me just stop and say this real quick to everybody. Please pay attention to what's going on, yes, but you have to get involved in this next November election. You have to. Or you want the system to be the way it is because it works for you, which that is going to let us know who is who for those that want it to stay like that, and who is who of those that don't want to stay like that. So please, you have to get involved. Know who you're voting for. Do your due diligence on that. Do your deep research on everybody that you're going to be voting for at your local voting precinct, please. All right, now back to the program. All right, speaking of the administration, what are your thoughts on the fact that this guy just launched Truth AI, and so he has his own AI coming into this space? How do we think that's going to look and work and feel in society?
Every AI that you use has a system prompt that was written by the team behind it to their preferred settings, what they want it to do, what they don't want it to do, what they want it to omit and remove from outputs. right? And we know from Elon's tweets with Grok that they intentionally try to shift it away from left to make it more moderate right, and remove out DEI and LGBT out of their model. Everyone has that opportunity to tweak it and customize it exactly how they want before it gets used by the public. DeepSeek, people have run into issues trying to pull up moments in Chinese history that certain messaging that they don't want it to reveal. So make your own conclusions, come to your own conclusions, and make your own judgments about what you think this truth AI is going to reveal or is not going to reveal in its outputs, and the things that it won't let you kind of prompt to get in return.
I'm wondering if it's a little bit of a war between him and Elon, because I mean, obviously he's going to get the MAGA crowd on there, right? But the MAGA crowd was super on Grok. That's why they called it Mecha Hitler at some point.
Yeah.
So how will that affect? Not affect, because we know how it affect. That will change potentially Grok's training if the core MAGA people actually go from using. Well, they're still going to use Twitter, and that's what Grok trains on. So I guess it's super not going to matter. But
Yeah,
yeah,
like what is Truth AI trained on? You know what I mean? What is
well,
it trained on?
that was my next
And
question. Do you think that they actually built a data center or actually trained a separate AI to do their own thing, or are they piggybacking on maybe a Grok or somewhere else for this? Like,
they absolutely can, and they don't have to tell you unless you push them to give you those answers and
right,
that level of transparency. They could have done it on an open source model. They could have done it on OpenAI. They could have done it on Gemini. Like, who knows as what the foundational layer is.
right,
But on top of that, they can tailor it to be whatever they want it to be. And usually when these things come out from politicians or these other social media networks is because it's trying to be the anti to the other messaging that's out there. So if to call something truth, that means that you don't feel like we're getting the truth from the main media platforms that are out there,
yeah,
the main social media or the other chatbot alternatives. So how are you tweaking it to be different than ChatGPT? How are you tweaking the news messaging to be different than what you're getting from CNN or Fox?
yeah,
Like, what are you creating in this algorithm to give you a different output? Are you emphasizing independent journalism? Are you focusing more on raw opinions from social media? Which social media platforms are you filtering into this to be captured through like what a web search would produce? Fact checking. I know Grok now and Perplexity are good for fact checking posts where like those community notes are good on Twitter, where like you see a video and the community notes tells you immediately this is AI generated. Don't believe what you're seeing in this video. Is it
right.
going to have that feature to help you better understand and fact check what's coming out there? Is it going to equally fact check a post by a Republican and a post by a Democrat? I'm curious to see that too.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think we know how this is going to play out. And I think Truth AI is going to be a master class on how to not answer a question. So I think it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be who is coming from, and we see how that individual moves. So, it's, good luck with that.
Yeah.
But anybody I see, and I'll say this for me, anybody that I see using Truth AI to try to say, well, it's real because I looked it up on Truth AI, I'm just gonna know who you are. Like that's and I'm okay with that. And I'm actually happy a Truth AI is in the space because it'll help separate, who I feel like is on my side and who I feel like I know is not on my side. So I'm okay with that. But again, this is almost perfect for pointing out what we've been saying, right? Because what they did is say, well, we want our own AI to say the things that we want to say. And that's what we've been saying is we, black and brown people, need to have our own AIs, apostrophe S, multiples, because this is going to keep happening. You now have potentially two AIs in the space that are going to ignore you, and your needs. So now we need to have AIs in the space that
Listen,
are
I'm
going to
putting
be
it.
the
I'm putting
opposite.
this out there, and everyone knows the work of Create Labs. For those of you who know what we do, we made, Empowered to be our own chatbot. We made the Tonal to be our own image generator. And I'm seeing great work by Fanbase and Isaac Hayes, and he just partnered with PLC Stock to other founders of color who are doing great work in AI to take advantage and protect our data.
Yeah.
Like, hit me up. Let's all have a roundtable to make sure that we're all doing our part to secure
Yeah.
our data, take control of our data, monetize our data for ourselves, right? Like there's a lot of opportunity for collaboration for us to build our own the right way. You know what I mean? It's all the FUBU philosophy.
Yeah, that's a fact. And if you're lost, for us, by us, let's get it popping. And Isaac Hayes Jr. has been doing a great job of trying to tell people. I was going to say acknowledge, but he's more than acknowledge. He's trying to tell people that you're getting played by giving your power to these other platforms that have no interest in making sure your interests are taken care of. And I think he's 1,000,000% correct. The roadblock I think he's coming into is actual development, which takes money, which is why he's been raising funds. But he's been literally, selling pieces of the company to raise those funds to the average person, so that if this thing pops off, they could, get something out of it, which is a super dope model.
Bro, that's the roadblock for all of us right now in this space.
Yeah.
Is like,
Yeah.
how do we get the same? Before we were saying, how do we get the same M's that they're getting? Now it's the B's. You know what I mean? Like to really compete at these foundational levels with ChatGPTs and Geminis, you need billions, not millions. Millions is only going to get you an application, another software to use.
Right.
To build these foundational models that power all of this, how do we get billions? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's going to have to take us to merge our efforts, to collaborate, to join forces to really make that case.
Well, it's going to take, and this is part of why we're doing what we're doing, but it's going to take, to be honest, Black and brown communities to fully come together and move together, not just acknowledge each other and say, oh yeah, and then individuals go off and do what they feel like is best because opportunities present themselves, because that makes us all opportunists, and they're using that knowledge against us, right? They have that data knowing that we're splintered and that we don't always come together, but they seem like they're not all together, but they're together because they benefit off the system that's been put in place for a long time now. And so for us to fully combat that, we're going to have to really, really come together. And, one of the things that he doesn't get, him being Isaac Hayes Jr., the praise for fan base is because when people get on there and they're used to using these social media platforms that they've been using for the last, 10, 15 years, the functionality isn't the same. And I get that, right? Because I'm somebody that's huge into functionality. Functioning techies is my thing. And it is a frustration, right, when dealing with a functionality that's lesser, and then there's a judgment that comes with it, like, oh, this isn't built out the way this isn't how I use this, that, and the third. Right. Because he doesn't have the capital yet to get to the point that it is built out that way. And he has the servers to make it fluid, because you could have functionality, but if your server room is your closet or a storage room or somewhere where it's only like 2 or 3 servers up and running because you don't have the money to pay for the rentals and the electricity and the other things that it takes, then yes, your thing is going to be a little less, and he needs money to get there. The fact that he has the vision to do it is what people should be jumping on, because that's how Elon and everyone and Sam and everyone else that built what they built, they had their vision, and then somebody believed in that vision and started giving them the loans in order to create the space that they created. And now they had millions at first in creating those spaces, and now they're talking to billions. So to get to the billions, we do have to start with the millions, but we have to make sacrifices and understanding of why we need to get there in order to actually get there, and not make judgments and excuses of, oh, that doesn't work, I'm not using that. 'Cause
Listen,
you're
and
falling
I
into
think
the system.
I think tech is a new domain for us to kind of like treat this way, but we all have our favorite food spot in Brooklyn that the food slaps, but
Yeah.
there's a leak in the roof, the table's a little
Oh,
wobbly, the chair
yes.
got rips in the leather.
All the halal spots on Fulton
You
and
got
Bedford.
tape
Food is
holding the
so
menus up on the
good.
screen. You don't care about any of
Don't
that because the food
care.
slaps,
Might see
right?
a fucking rodent run across
Look,
the
I didn't want to
floor
go there. I didn't want to go
while
there.
I'm putting this shit on my dish. I'm like, man, that's fucked
Yo, they
up.
say if there's
I'm
not a
not
C
stopping.
grade, if there's not a C grade on the window, the food ain't slapping.
It's facts.
So, but we got to treat our apps the same way.
Yeah.
Like if you know something's homegrown by your people, the data's being handled in a ethical way, in a responsible way, then you got to have more grace with the user experience because you know
Yeah.
that they're going to get there and you're getting in on the ground floor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The same way that you're going to rock a Max B mixtape that he made in jail or somewhere
I
where
mean,
like the sound isn't
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not produced by Dr. Dre. You know, anyone of your homies who has a mixtape, you're gonna give grace to the sound quality because the song is right and you believe in the project and you believe
Right.
in the person. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
Before they get the M's to them be at that quality, at that
Yeah.
level. You
It's
got to
the
treat
same.
apps and software that's made by the community in the same kind of way.
Yeah. People have to realize in order for us to, on any like platform or level or whatever it is we're trying to do, like you were just saying, we have to make, like, it's not even a choice. There's never going to be a solid yellow brick road directly to the thing that's just going to put us in the best possible position, because the system has been built this way for a very long time. And a lot of people that benefit off of that system are going to not want it to change. And a lot of times, even if it's against your self-interest, because meaning like, I may be black and be a millionaire and, have worked this system and gotten to where I needed to be, but I know this system needs to change in order for it to benefit me better and to benefit my whole community so we're in a good place. I'm not, I should be saying, let's get rid of this system, but I'm not, because I'm currently benefiting more than anyone else, and I subconsciously do not want that to change. And that's the thing, is people have to realize we have to make these sacrifices in order for this thing to change. We have to. It's not even a question. It's unfortunate, but it's not even a question.
100%.
Okay, so there's a few things on here. We got to. So we spoke on Elon. He is launching what he was called Macro Hard, which is the software company, and it is the opposite of Microsoft, and it's going to be fully AI based. What's your thoughts on this? How do you feel about Macro Hard? Pause. I feel like there's a pause that you just have to say when
Yeah,
saying that name, but now I want to say
I'm not saying that
Microsoft
name.
is a pause too. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm good on saying that name. I think in general, I mean, software is at a junction point right now too, where like everything that we think of as far as like apps, that's gonna change. I think the idea of like what they call like micro apps, or we can all build the apps that we need for our personal life and productivity, like right now, like in this one single day. In the next 24 hours, you can build the next 5 or 10 apps that you need to help you every day. So like it's as easy now to make apps as it is to make a TikTok,
Yeah.
or to make a reel. So you're gonna see that kind of change. You're gonna see us just picking our foundational model to use that can do all things, including making the apps that we need for our personal life. So I think anyone that's sticking to the what they call the application layer, not the foundational layer, but the application layer,
Right.
really needs to think about how to make us more the drivers of that, or really, really, really niche areas that still need apps that no one's really attacked yet with apps, or no one's really attacked with enabling software to really help that space. And I see that all the time. I love being in that space. People come to me from all over the worlds. I mean, I spoke to a dude that's working with, the elder councils of like the Amazon and like South America, and like software hasn't touched them at all. So like coming to me like, yo, how do we build a software around their indigenous wisdom? I'm like, I'm with it, right? That
Yeah,
but
that's right.
also we need that at the foundational layer.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
let's build something at the foundational layer that pulls in what they're
Yes.
pulling from the ancestors
Yes.
and their wisdom into that layer. That's powerful. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Is that useful on the software level? Sure. Is that needed at the foundational? Absolutely. You know what I mean? But like
Absolutely.
at some point, two things are gonna happen. You're either gonna make the top 5 apps that you use on your phone on a daily basis, or your next phone, next 2-3 years, is just gonna have one app for all the things. Right now, I probably have like 300 apps on my
Yeah.
iPhone.
Yeah.
There's probably gonna be one app that can do all the things that those 300
Wow.
can
I
do.
didn't even think about that. That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay.
So whatever this play is, just I'm gonna wait and see what their angle is.
Yeah.
But I just know from a software standpoint and all these companies are trying to do. I'm a competitor to Microsoft, right, and to Azure and to Accenture. Like a company approaches one of us to build things for them in house,
Right.
either in house or for their customers. And I'll give them a quote, and they say, "Oh, well, Microsoft just gave me this quote, or Azure just gave me this quote to do the same thing,"
Right.
because they have a one-stop shop to do all those things.
Right.
So it's interesting how that comes down to the everyday person at the consumer level.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll see. Micro hard pause. Microsoft pause.
Yeah, I'm not rocking with that.
Yeah, it is a crazy name. He did not. I mean, he put thought into it, but he doesn't have the knowledge that we have of knowing why that is bad. Which is again another point of why we need our own AIs, because, like you just said, right, that foundational level is needed for that group, that indigenous group, right? And is it applicable to the application layer? Maybe, right? But yes, in the sense that that knowledge that they have, or even that they exist, right? Because there's people that don't even think about their existence, and what that means for the planet needs to be in our, a lexicon, right? Like our day-to-day knowledge base to know how we're dealing with this planet, because that area gives us what's the percentage of oxygen that area gives us, and what's the for the planet, and what's the percentage of medical cures that come out of the Amazon from plants and bugs and everything else, that those people, and I hate to say that term, those people, but that those indigenous people know that no one else knows. That, we could fight big pharma if we had that knowledge base. We could fight different things for the planet if we had that knowledge base in our day to day. So yeah, it's just another point
But
of why
that's
we
the
need our
thing.
own.
It's all about access, because who has access to them? Big pharma. That's how they learn what plants are medicinal and have medicinal benefits that they can,
Yeah, that's
distill
crazy.
into medications. And CEOs take the workshops that are translated from those teachings into like executive coaching, to CEO retreats, wellness retreats that all the CEOs take, that are being the teachings from those elder councils. But those are very private rooms.
Yes.
Right? Those are in-person retreats and workshops and trainings for very powerful people.
Yes.
Where I come in, I'm like, give me those same teachings so I can scale that to
For
everyone.
everybody. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's necessary. Okay, so speaking of development, you just put us on before we started to Meta just opened a platform for development of the glasses, which I feel like is like when the iPhone dropped and they said, here's the App Store. Developers, do your thing, right? So they're now saying, give us more functionality into these AI glasses. Put us on to more about how this is going to go, maybe.
I mean that's the key that we all need as developers. When I say we, me as representing the developer community, when something comes out, a new enabling technology that enables you, especially in AI, you're waiting for the developer toolkit, the SDK, the software development kit, or the API, or the back end for you to customize your own use of that technology.
Right.
We don't like when something is just for consumer to just use the way that you build it.
Right.
We're waiting, and that's where creativity comes in. That's where, like, all right, now that
Yes.
you have access, that's where innovation and creativity comes in and creates the opportunity for the startups and innovation ecosystem
Yes.
to attack monetization and commercialization with a whole new platform. Because
Yes.
before you said, all right, you can open up the developer toolkit to build apps for the iPhone or iOS. What is your medium? The iPhone,
Right.
right? When ChatGPT comes out and they open up the developer toolkit and making the APIs available, all right, well, now I can build my own chatbot.
Yeah.
So now, where you can tap into a wearable, glasses, what innovations can you come up with that are now translated through the interface of the glasses, whether it's through audio into the stems of the glasses or if it's into the mini display. If you have new ideas of like what products should be displayed and overlaid via AR, on the lens itself. There's a lot of different use cases now, but that's not for us to determine. That's give it out to the world and see what they could come up with.
Right.
But you have now, as of this week, a whole new place to make money.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is good. Which is good. And well, not but adding into what you were just saying, they have to also say, okay, well, not also say, but look at it. Like we mentioned the iPhone, and the iPhone is Apple iOS, which is a closed system that Apple develops specific, and whatever they allow is it's actually locked down, right? Whatever you can develop of how you can develop versus an Android, and
It's more open, right? I don't, I
it's
don't have
open.
any Android, but it's more
Right,
open.
it's open source, so when you develop for it, you can take it in any direction that you feel like you want it to go, right?
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people do love. I know a lot of techies that just love
Yeah.
Android to death because it gives them the options to make the phone, to set up the phone the way that they want to use the phone. Versus an iPhone that's a closed system, you have to use it the way Apple has developed it, right? But I will say this. I like, you and I both. I have an Android, but I use my iPhone day to day. My Android I use when I need to use an Android for whatever Android reason I need to use. But that is far and few in between compared to me using my iPhone day to day. But it's not because I like iOS per se better than Android. Well, I mean it is, but it's because iOS, because it's closed system, is very fluid and things happen quickly. There's less bugs in it because Android is open source. There's a lot more bugs going on. And if you
Yeah.
don't have a super strong development team when developing, then those bugs exist for a long time and it frustrates people in their use of that particular app that they're using. And Android itself, it's maybe it's just the Androids that I've had because I don't get every Android model to see which one is, best. Shout to Marcus Brownlee. He does that, and we look to
Yeah.
him for that, so we appreciate it. But it's like when I use an Android, I have frustrations. When I use an iPhone, it seems pretty fluid. Plus, if you have a MacBook and an iPad, you have and you need to get things between them. The system is very fluid in doing that.
Yeah.
AirDrop. So it is going to depend on how that system is. I don't know what the glasses are built on. I don't know if it's a kernel of an Android and that's how they're building it, or if it's their own system. I haven't heard of their own system, so I don't know. But Meta does like to do their own thing, so we'll see. But it depends on. I do believe that Mark said that what he's doing is open source. So I do think that means like you'll have options to make the thing the way you want to make the thing versus the constrictions of how the thing works on that device, which is how
I
Apple
mean,
does.
historically, I've worked a lot with VR developers, and they've expressed frustration with how difficult it is to get their VR products into the Quest marketplace, meeting the requirements um, of Meta and Quest. And so I hope that this is more open than that, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can build for this, and they might run into frustrations of having their idea for the wearable not be approved, or being rejected for whatever reason of what you built and how you built it, or they being selective of who they let in through the gate, right?
Right.
Because you can have a million people technically build something for the wearables,
Right.
but they let in only 10% of those people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's still a lot to be determined here, and I hope it's a bit more flexible than what I've learned historically with the VR platform.
Right. Right. Well, but then and also maybe even if it is a little more closed off with AI, right? With a Claude or Perplexity or ChatGPT or a Gemini, you can get around some of those things easier without having a super knowledge base, or even if you have a knowledge base, which would be better, you can make it happen faster and easier. So maybe it won't be as frustrating as it's been in the past for developing for platforms because of AI itself. So
Yeah.
and being that this is an AI development, maybe it is just as simple as talking around how something should work. So we'll see. But like to your point, this is an opportunity for people to, make money, because if you have an idea that makes sense for how those glasses work, you can probably bring it to fruition and get it popping. And we'll see how the money, we don't know yet how that works, right? Because the app stores, between App Store or Google Play, people make money because they charge for a paid app, or they make money from a free app because there's ads in it. I know people don't want ads in their eyes, on a regular basis. So we'll see how, it'd probably be, a fee to get whatever app. So you probably have to make that functionality super good for people to want to pay for it. But,
Yeah.
either way, it's an opportunity. So keep your eyes open for that. Okay, so last but not least, I was going to touch on something else, but I'm going to leave it alone for right now until we have a different conversation. But I will say, learn how to read, please. Please learn how to read. It's a different type of important. Yes, you need to know math. Yes, you need to have your business skills together. But they will get you in the long run if you don't know how to read. And to our point, sometimes you can get ahead faster and better with AI in the space, because if you get a contract, you could probably put it in there, summarize this for me, let me know all the points that I got to worry about, blah, blah, blah. But either way, it's going to spit out words to you. So if you don't know how to read, the AI can't always help you. Even though, I guess ChatGPT, you got voice mode and all of
Listen,
that.
man,
But
I've been saying it. I've been dying on this hill. Like anytime I'm on stage and talking about what skills you need for the future, all of these interfaces are prompt interfaces. It's a communication interface where you have to speak in natural language. So your mastery of the spoken word, the written word,
yes,
is extremely important for whatever new AIs come out in the next 5, 10 years.
yes,
How you communicate with these systems produce the result on the other end.
yes, yes. And if you may know language because you hear and pay attention, right? And you've learned whatever you've learned in school, and you've done what you've done, you've gotten ahead. But if you don't actually know how to read, then you're missing nuances of the language that's going to keep you pigeonholed back hard, especially in the AI space. So please, please, no, don't graduate high school and don't know how to read, because you might as well either get in the jail cell or get on the plantation, or however it's going to work, because they're going to get you. And so last thing that we're going to talk about today, which I didn't tell you about ahead of time, I just thought about it while we were talking, but I know you probably heard about it happening. Digital IDs. I think the UK is pushing forward, trying to get it done. It's in China already. And I know there's a lot of worry about the control factor in digital IDs, and knowing, who you are at all times on the internet, and controlling what you can and can't do based off of who you are and what they want you to do on the internet. We're not going to go super deep because we got to see how some of this stuff rolls out. So we got to get some more facts. But what's your thoughts on digital IDs moving forward on the internet? I feel like governments are starting to pop off and talk about this more and more.
I mean, yeah, I've seen it on a couple different levels in chatter around, digital passports, digital licenses, the real ID, and even I have, global entry, having that be digital, so all these things are going to become much more important. But actually, we've seen now it's easier to produce a digital ID with AI than it is a physical ID. Like I think a lot of complexities go into crafting a physical document, that's leather or laminated or NFC tagged with holographs. Not everyone has access to that technology, but everyone has access to ChatGPT and Gemini 3 to.
Yeah.
What I saw was fabricating digital receipts.
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
pictures of paper receipts,
I saw that.
right? With AI. So like there has to be, and you're the blockchain guy, like there has to be some other connection to that digital ID to prove its authenticity.
Yeah.
With some type of hash or some type of key or some type of string to prove that digital ID is not AI generated.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of the reasons I think, not digital IDs specifically, but the things being so easily being able to be faked across the board, especially, I mean, it was already happening before AI blew up, but now that it's getting better and these things can be produced within seconds instead of actually putting work into them, is going to get worse 100%. And I hear, I don't hear the push for it from the government. I understand as to why they're doing it in their control mechanism, but I don't think, like you just said, it is going to be a be all end all of like security or verification. And I do think blockchain will be that, because that is secure as long as, quantum computing doesn't disrupt it, which, the possibility is there. It's developing faster than I guess crypto people would like. And the safety net or the hash coding that it needs to block quantum computing isn't there yet. So it is a concern. But outside of quantum computing, a blockchain is an absolute truth mechanism. Like the receipts are there, literally. Blockchain is ledger technology. Ledger is keeping receipts, keeping facts of how things happen. I mean, most of the time that is done for money, which is why cryptocurrency has been the mechanism to prove blockchain. But I do think, especially with NFTs, because an NFT can be a document or a file, that it could be applied to municipalities, governments. Voting, I think, would be great on blockchain. Keeping data secure on there, because when these blockchains get hacked, it's generally not the blockchain getting hacked. It's the structure that is keeping it, or it is you as an individual setting weak passwords because people could data mine you and find out your pet's name and your parents' maiden name and all of the things that have been set up in Web 2 to be security measures can be gotten around with the right set of tools. And so I think the blockchain itself, as long as you can be safe, will be necessary moving forward. And so I think
here's what this presents, for better or for worse. And I think if it's done the right way with blockchain, then this can be done correctly. But this is the future that this kind of presents. And me and you, this is bringing up William Cooper vibes, with the whole of Pale Horse around like having a digital ID, because you could have technically one. We all have a wallet. If you have an iPhone, I don't know what it is in Android, but you have like a wallet in here that you double
Yeah.
tap,
Yeah.
right? And it brings up like all these cards, right? You could have like one. Here's my credit card one. You go in to buy a car. There's no applications to fill out. Just double tap and tap your phone to see if you would be approved
Right.
for anything in here
Yeah.
with one tap,
Yeah.
right? Because it has your credit history, your income, your all the valuable information that they're going to want you to fill out
Yeah.
on that application and keep you at the dealership for 3 hours.
Yep.
Boom, double tap, scan my phone, and I'm approved, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you want to buy a house? Tap your phone. All right, that's all the information we need. It's all in there, right? But on the other side, when it comes up red, and you know your data is good, did it get hacked? You know what I mean? Or, like, and that's where like this social credit score, this personal ranking, this personal index, but all of your information and your credit score one, your driver's license, your passport, your global entry, your real ID don't have to be multiple IDs that you carry in this like digital wallet. It could be one
Right.
that has all of that information. And if you don't want it to be in the cloud, then it's something that locally lives on your device with NFC capabilities that you could just tap and scan. Like I have a Rivian. They just came out with that with the Rivian because my phone is my key to get into my car, to drive my car.
Okay.
But it's an app. So now they just came out with the NFC version so that even if my phone dies,
Yeah.
I can still drive my car.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of power to that, right? There's a lot of potential, but also if it gets hacked, it's a wrap.
It's dangerous. It's definitely dangerous. But I mean, every platform or entity or thing has that danger regardless, right? Because the same with a car, they might have the repeater that can copy your fob signal and get in that way. Or, they go old school and, jimmy the door and touch the wires or however the fucking hot wire shit works. I never actually learned that part.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, that danger exists no matter what. There's no way to 100% get rid of a danger of that level of the thing. But, the ease of access might be worth it, one. And two, you do some due diligence. Again, we love that word because it is necessary in life. I don't think people understand or use it enough, due diligence. But you do your due diligence and figure out, okay, well, if that's how they get people, then I'm gonna do this. Like I have
Well, wait, let's pause on that because this is where, like, I'm talking to you, so we can go there, right? I typically wouldn't take this on stage, but when people talk about the mark of the beast, if you don't want a device in your hand anymore, if you don't want a wallet to carry around, if you don't want documents in your house that are on paper, and you want it kept close to the vest, then this first step would be a digital ID on your phone, right? The next step after that would be an RFID chip that goes here that contains the same information that's in here or online. You don't want the chip, then you get a tattoo that you scan that's invisible ink with metal that way no one can steal it from you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Physically.
Yeah.
The only thing they can do is hack into the code online, but if only a portion of the code lives online and the rest is in your bio data,
Yeah.
your key phrase, like in the crypto world, right? That phrase is attached to you physically for life to control your personal data. That is extremely powerful. In literature in the past, it's been written as the mark of the beast and other things, or barcodes on the back of our neck or on our arms, but you have to flip it in a way that gives you the power of what you do with that data.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fact. I mean, just to add there, the Scandinavian countries, one of them, I forget which one, but they put the chip in their skin a long time ago, and they're saying life is a different type of beautiful over there. But, mark of the beast, we've been hearing that for so long, beware. But, I mean, if we're being honest, the mark of the beast is money itself. So we use that day to day, and then we, stop, so again, do your due diligence in what matters to you to avoid whatever mark of the beast or uh, however they can get around your security measures or whatever the thing is, right? You know what I'm saying? So you just always be prepared. You know, And I was gonna say, because I spoke on a car and your fob. I have a key fob. I get the pouch that is RFID proof, you know, and so people can't, they use what's called a
Mm-hmm.
repeater to, because your key fob is always looking to communicate with the car, like
Yeah.
every second, right? And so even when you're in the house and it's sitting in that bowl by your front door, it's easy to go between the car and your fob and catch that signal and then record that signal. And now you have that signal and be able to manipulate and do whatever you want. So I keep it in a little pouch that when I'm in the house, it doesn't communicate with the car. I don't take that out until I'm right up on the car and I'm looking around to see who's around me just in case, somebody has some little device sticking out
Yeah,
or
what's that
something.
device? The Dolphin, right? Like people can pick up signals with
What?
that.
What's it called? Is it a dolphin?
Yeah,
It's
I've seen
it's
people use the Dolphin to like change
Yeah, so
screens in Times Square. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. And then, oh no,
the Flipper. Yeah, yeah,
the
Flipper.
flipper, the zero is flipper zero, which is legal to buy on the web, and it can hack almost anything. It can even replicate a physical key. If you line up on the thing and put the marks in the right space, and then go to somebody that can cut a key, they can get the key cut based off the design that you put
Really?
on the. It's the flipper is crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking about getting one, but in my mind, I'm like, this thing can't stay legal, and I don't
Yeah.
even want to be in possession, because then they fuck around, learn how to blame you for something on some just in case.
Yeah,
But
you would think it's some dark web shit, but it's on Amazon, I think.
yeah,
Like
no,
it's
it's they. I think they were stopping it, and then they restarted. I'm like, this feels like a setup, so I'm gonna leave it alone. But this thing is that flipper is fire though. It can do all.
yeah.
It can replicate key fobs. It can replicate whatever you got. It can do it. It can get into your phone. This shit is crazy. So, yeah. So, because the other thing I was thinking about when you said that, I think it's called a shark, but that's a thing where they ride around and just steal your cell signal,
Mm,
which is different from the other thing. And I think the thing I'm talking about that catches a stingray, I think it's called.
okay.
It catches the signal for the fob. But yeah, so do your due diligence, stay aware, and then you'll always know. And if you feel like it's for you, then go ahead. iPhone just dropped the feature with the digital license in there. Go ahead and do. I actually, I'm not on some like, oh, Apple, I'm an Apple fanboy type shit, but I do think Apple does things really well in the right way. Like their wallet with their credit card, when you make purchases with it, they don't just charge the card or whatever the case is from your Apple wallet. They literally communicate with the other end and give it a whole different number from your credit card,
Correct. Yeah.
right? Which is a great layer for security, because if something is on that other end, even a regular employee that's physically writing down numbers, it does nothing for them because it's a one-time use thing versus you actually using your card and somebody having all of those details right there. So Apple does usually protect people, which is why I super
Yeah,
trust them.
if you go to Target, I just ran into this. If you go to Target and
We don't
try
go
and
to
like
Target,
return,
but yeah, he's just making it as an
yeah,
example. We don't go to Target.
if you go to Target and you try and return something, and you give them the debit card that you used, but you actually did it with a tap, they're not going to recognize the debit card. 'Cause, like the number that came out of the tap is different than your physical card, even
Right,
though it's connected to that card.
right.
So he's absolutely right. There is a change in the security protocol around that.
Yeah. So yeah, do your due diligence and know what's going on. Okay, so look, I think unless you had anything else that I missed.
I will say there's other things that we could touch on later on, around robotics. But I think for those that have been impacted in the last couple weeks by these major Q4 layoffs, whether it's Verizon, Omnicom, I know people that have been directly impacted by both, and I know there's others that are coming down the pike. Just keep your head up. Upskill yourself. Take this opportunity. If you have a little bit of unemployment or severance to rely on for a bit, just upskill yourself. Take some of those classes on AI. Figure out how to become fluent in the space. You don't have to be a developer, but just be fluent in these technologies. Get your hands on those core four that we talk about: the ChatGPT,
Please.
Gemini's, Claude's, Perplexity, and just rework and revamp that resume to understand this new world that you're heading into, because you're gonna have to deal with it in whatever next role you go into.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to collaborate and coexist with AI in some kind of fashion. But if you need an opportunity, if you need a project or just advice, just reach out, because it's hitting people all around us, and,
Yeah.
and I want to make sure that you know that you're supported.
100%, 100%. Ask us questions. We're here. Shout to Aconundrum. She's here. Shout to everybody that we've had on so far. We're actually trying to be a support network for you. So please hit us up and ask, or if you feel like you got this, go ahead, do your thing, do your due diligence, and get it moving, because it's rough, and it's going to get rougher. So yeah, we're here to help. So that's it. This is Know Your Future. Until next time, I'm Wza.
Ron, Create Labs.
That's right. We're here. Peace.
Peace, y'all.
Find know your future, know your future, know your future. Or get stuff into the hooper.